Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Give me a minute to get some things done and then I will get started. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Okay. All right, good morning. Happy Saturday, everybody. Woo! It's been a long week. Lots is going on in the world. So I know that life be lifing. And yeah, so I'm excited to be doing this live today. And I'm just going to get started in just a second. Bear with me. I was supposed to have some help this morning, but I'm by myself. So I'm trying to navigate everything and make sure I get everything done. Please forgive me if I don't respond quickly or respond at all, honestly. I'm going to try to really focus on this presentation, and then I want to presentation, and then at the end I could take Q&A. So I'm gonna do my best to try to look at that information. So yes, bear with me. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Welcome to Conscious Gear. Welcome to the third part of my mini masterclass. The first one was really about nailing your niche in the outdoor industry. I did that on Thursday. All these three mini masterclasses will be posted on my YouTube channel. So if you get a chance and you want to go back and watch them, because you're seeing it maybe on Instagram or TikTok or wherever you may be seeing it, please feel free to go back to YouTube and check it out. Check out all the different the three mini masterclasses there. My name is Charlotte Young Bowens. If you don't know me, I am the founder of Conscious Gear. I'm also the innovator of VestaPack. I don't have one in front of me. I should have it with me all times. Innovator of VestaPack, the world's first hydration vest designed by and for us taller, curvier, more muscular, and bigger bodied folk, right? So we, too, can hydrate with ease when we're being physically active and outdoors and or in the indoors for that matter. So hello. Today, I am doing a mini masterclass, and it's really focused on beyond the shelf, building a brand that goes the distance. And I want to first start off about why I'm doing it. I was selected to be a BMO fellow, which is powered by the Watson Institute. And this is a really prestigious fellowship. Hundreds and hundreds of people apply, but they only select a handful of people to get these BMO fellowships. And so I am a BMO fellow, which I'm totally honored about. What I love most about being a BMO fellow is that I get to engage with other entrepreneurs that really value social impact as part of their business program. You know what I mean? Like, social impact is part of the business model, right? And I love being able to being engaged with those folks, talk about our challenges and our struggles, and as well as our rewards, as well as the things that really make this work that we do super fulfilling. The second thing I love about being a BMO fellow is that you get a lot of international networking opportunities, and so that is super cool. I'm so appreciative of that. And then one thing, the reason why I'm in front of you today mostly is because I am a BMO fellow. One of my assignments is to do base camps, and a base camp is an event where I go into the community and I make a social impact. So my social impact is to help outdoor brands think about things like nailing down your niche, which was my Thursday presentation. Yesterday's presentation is where I talked about keeping it real, about landing in the REI, or really, just really wholesaling to any major retailer. I think a lot of people want to do that stuff, and I say be careful what you ask for, because it's a lot of hard work to engage those relationships with major retailers to really be able to follow through and be successful. So I do have that video. It's on my YouTube channel if you really want to check it out. And then today I'm going to be talking about, really, now that you've got your brand, now that you know what you're doing, what are you doing beyond the shelf? Now that people know that your product is there, how do you kind of help yourself sustain, how to help yourself scale, and how to help yourself succeed in a way that you want to succeed. You define success, and I just really want to talk about that today because I think it's really super interesting. But before we get started with that, I want to show you guys a video. Give me a second. Like I told y'all, I was supposed to get some help this morning, but they're not here today, so I'm managing by myself. But I want to show you a little video about BMO. Let's see if I can do this. Oh no. Okay, hang on. Oh, here we go. It says you go here. All right, where do we go? Okay, here we go. Here we go. Okay. Okay, here we go. All right. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to show you guys. This is a video about BMX.
To what we at the Watson Institute call a base camp. My name is Mary Campbell, and I am the Senior Programs Manager for base camps for our global organization. It is an absolute pleasure to have you here with us today, and I'm thrilled to have you join this event. It is hosted today by an even more incredible fellow. Today, you are not just attending another event. You're stepping into a global initiative driven by passion, innovation, and a shared vision for making a difference. Base camps like the one that you are a part of today have had a profound impact across the world. So far, with the help of an incredible fellows, our participants, and our sponsoring partners, over 10,000 individuals in more than 81 countries have been impacted through base camps. Each event is a testament to the power of community, where ideas and dreams are transcending borders. It's incredible to see how these gatherings are sparking change and inspiring action on a global scale. But what truly makes base camps extraordinary are the stories that are shared within them. These are the stories of people coming together to support one another, of communities transforming through shared knowledge and collaboration, and of lives being changed in ways that ripple far beyond the event itself. Every story that you hear today is a testament to the strength and potential within each one of you. Let's take a moment now to celebrate the fellow who has put their heart and soul into organizing this base camp. Their dedication and hard work have made this experience possible, and their commitment to fostering a supportive, engaging environment is truly inspiring. They've turned their vision into a reality, creating a space where we can all now come together and learn and grow. And with the help of our generous partners and sponsors of this fellowship, collaboratively, we have provided this event's organizing fellow with the tools, resources, and support that was needed to make this base camp impactful. So thank you, base camp participant, for being an essential part of our vibrant global community. Your presence here today is a crucial piece of the larger puzzle, helping to drive change and foster connections that extend far beyond the event today. Enjoy every moment of this base camp as this fellow has put so much effort into it. And let's continue to inspire and support one another, making a lasting impact together. Here's to the journey ahead and to the incredible possibilities that it holds. See you soon. If you enjoyed this base camp, we invite you to stay connected by joining us at the culminating event of the fellowship program happening in just a few weeks, the Summit. At Summit, explore innovative ventures, connect with like-minded individuals, and be inspired by the impactful initiatives of the fellows. To join, simply scan the QR code on the screen, and we hope to see you there.
Let's get started. I am going to get started with my base camp. Let me get started with my base camp.
Hello and welcome to what we at the Watson Institute call a base camp. My name is Mary Campbell, and I am the Senior Programs Manager for base camps for our global organization.
Gotcha. Okay, good. Okay. Well, I told y'all I'm here alone this morning, so managing all this stuff has been a little bit challenging. But I'm going to get through this. Okay, so first of all, let's start here. Why is this not doing it? Hang on. Yeah, oh, there it goes. Okay, there it goes. All right, so welcome to Beyond the Shelf, building a brand that goes the distance. My name is Charlotte Bowens. As I said before, I am a BMO fellow, and today I am doing this base camp to talk about some different things. Hold on one second while I do something. All right, so we're good. All right, so let's get started with my first thing. Let's see how we doing. Choose more. All right. Okay, let's get started. All right. Okay. Let's see. All right. Alrighty. Okay. All right. So let's get started. So today I'm talking about going the distance, right? What I really want to challenge you guys is, and I say beyond the shelf, really, that's the focus of this live today, is that how are you building your brand that goes the distance, right? Because I think more than anything, we want longevity for our businesses. I know I definitely do. And so my tagline today is, how do you scale smart, but stay true and be authentic and thrive even in the midst of challenges? Okay. And I think the most important way to do that is starting with, how do you define success? Because I think a lot of times people are like, here, let me move myself over here so we can get that off of there. Okay. I think a lot of times when we think about our businesses, we think about a success. So I'll just use me as an example. You know, my goal is to become a global brand, of course, to make lots of zeros. However, you know, I think more than just that, I want to have a positive impact on the world. I want to make sure that bigger bodies get a hydration vest or whatever it is they need, because I feel like fundamentally when I tried to get that, I wasn't able to get that. And I just don't want people to have to experience the same thing I experienced. And so for me, success is like, I want to change the world. I want bigger bodies to know they can go into retail stores and find the things that they need, because they deserve it, right? And because they probably have worked their butts off to get to the point where they need these things. And so I think when it comes to redefining success, you want to look at impact. What is the impact? Like I said, I want to impact. I want to help change the lives of bigger body folks. You know, also think about integrity. Like, how do you stay true to, you know, who you are, without making concessions or feeling like you can't be in alignment with your values and your morals, right? I think capitalism can make it really challenging and hard for us to figure things out, because it costs more money to do this, and you make less profits if you do that. And so really, how do you create a business with integrity? Because I think that integrity is important. My earring keeps popping all over the place. I think integrity as it pertains to you, whatever integrity is to you, I'm not saying what it is. But also, let me say this. When it comes to thinking about success, you're thinking about money, okay? Don't get it twisted. Like, you want to generate revenue and you want to make some money. And I think that we can have that desire unapologetically, right? We don't have to no, like, you got into this to make a living. You got into this to make an income, to do a revenue. And so having bigger goals around money is something that you have every right to think about. You have every right to work towards. And so that is part of success too. I want us to pause for a moment, and I want us to think for a minute. What does going the distance look like for you? And then I want you to kind of think about that, right? And have that in mind as we go through this presentation today. When it comes to what are you really building, you're thinking about your brand. What is your brand? What does your brand stand for? What does it mean? How do you communicate in the world about your brand? What do you want people to think when they think about your brand? Are you sustainable? Are you about comfort? Are you about inclusivity? Are you about, I hear the dogs barking. I hope you guys don't hear the dogs barking. Are you about eco-friendly? You know, there are a lot of different ways in which people, ooh, I made sure to close this door because this dog is really barking. Okay, hold on. Okay, all right, that's cool. All right, so when you think about your brand, what are the ways in which you want to show up in the world as a brand? I think for me, you know, when I think about my brand, I just realized that one of the ways I want my brand to show up, and I've created this new tagline, and I'm totally digging it, totally loving it, is hydration is my love language. Like, I want to use my product, Hydration Vest. I want people to know, I think for me, I learned on my journey that when I dialed in on my hydration, I was able to be successful. And so I want people to kind of elevate their relationship to hydration. And in doing so, I think hydration is an act of self-respect, self-care. And so that is my love language. There are a lot of things that could be your love language, but for me and our brand, hydration is our love language, right? And so that's what I want people to walk away with. Like, oh yeah, y'all remember Conscious Gear? Hydration was their love language. Yeah. That's what, for me, that's what I want when I want people to think about my brand. And I think for everybody else, like, that's your job to figure out, you know, what is it that you want people to walk away as it relates to what it means, what your brand means to them. And then it should be easy, succinct, memorable, but impactful, right? Just like Apple and Nike and all those, they have these little short phrases. They have these, you know, symbols, logos, and they're memorable and they're easy to, you know, to understand. And so that's what you want for yours, for your company as well. The next thing I want to talk about is product. When you think about what are you building just a product or products? And what are those products mean to you and mean in the world? So for example, I do a hydration vest. And every time I think about creating something new, for me, because hydration is my love language, I now have to really focus on how does that next product align with that mission and vision. And so, like, for instance, we've made little fanny packs, but I've made the fanny pack in such a way that you could carry water bottles. You could even put a water bladder in it, because I always want everything that we do to be about hydration. I don't want people to have to question that. I don't want them to buy a product from me and it has nothing to do with hydration, because then I'm not really doing my business, my brand, you know, any service by neglecting to let people know that we're all about hydration. And so, like, even I've done a sling and like a little sling bag, little messenger bag, and all of those kind of encompass a pouch or some way of carrying hydration, because that's our brand and that's what I want to do with our products. I think when you get in alignment with what your brand message is, then all your products really need to be in sync with that. I just feel like I get frustrated when I go to different brands and they say they're about this, but then they're doing all these different other things, and I'm confused. And it's not that I don't, you know, want them to do those other things, but maybe their brand messaging needs to change then. Like, if I don't want to do things that are focused on hydration, then I probably will change my tagline from hydration is our love language. But for now, that is my tagline, and I'm going to stick to it because that's what I believe in, and that's what I want right now. And so I want you guys to be thinking about brand, product, and then also your company. What do you want your company to be about? I really want my company to be about people that care about the outdoors, people that care about size inclusivity, about the world around them, about making the outdoors more welcoming. And when you think about your company, it's not just you, it's the people that you bring into your company and how your company relates to the world, you know, and making sure that's consistent, again, with your brand and with your product. So I think when you're thinking about what are you really building, these three things are super, super important. And they're separate things, but they need to be in alignment, because I think that will help people understand what it is you're doing. The second thing I thought about was, what is legacy? What do you want to be known for? And I kind of just already mentioned that. Like, I want to be known as a hydration girl. As crazy as that is, I want to be known for the hydration girl that hydrated the rest of the world. There are other companies, right? You know, we all know them, that make hydration systems, okay? And they do a good job and they service a lot of community, but I feel like they really focused on just outdoorsy people or physically active people or, people with money perhaps. And I contend that my job is to hydrate the rest of the world, to hydrate, the construction worker, to hydrate the woman that only gardens, to hydrate the lady that only walks, or hydrate the guy that goes hiking maybe once a month, to hydrate, the big tall guy that wants to wear a hydration vest when he does, long distance running or long distance cycling or whatever the case may be, or hydrate the woman, that loves to go kayaking. I feel like for me, a lot of the hydration systems are geared towards runners, hikers, skinny folks. And I'm saying I'm hydrating the rest of us because I feel like we deserve hydration too. And so that's what I want to be known for. Like at the end of the day, that's what I want to be known. And I want you to think about, well, what do you want to be known for? When they write it on your little grave, you know what I mean? What do you want them to say? Or when your business ceased to exist, what do you want people to say? Oh yeah, I remember that brand. I remember this is what they were known. This is what they were known for. The other thing is when you're thinking about building, I want you to think about the trap of short-term trends. A lot of times we will kind of succumb to trends when it comes to our business. Like, oh, well, everybody else is doing that, so maybe I should integrate that into my business versus timeless value, right? And I think that a lot of times short-term trends could add value to your company. But I would always say, look at that with the lens of, will this have timeless value? Because if it's just trendy for now and then it's going to be gone tomorrow, and you know what I mean, then it really is not going to service your company because people are going to be like, oh, I thought you did that. And if they thought you did that, then now that it's no longer a trend, they're not going to think of you because they're going to be like, well, you just did that. So really think about like trends. I would say, trends are not the worst thing in the whole wide world. I don't know why I'm doing my hand like this, like I got a microphone, but I don't think anything is necessarily wrong with short-term trends. I think there are trends that may be short-term. You could integrate them into your brand and they could have timeless value depending on the trend. But I am saying that when you think about what you're building, try not to get caught up in the trends because they come and they go. And you want longevity. If you want longevity, then there's no way you can be messing around with a lot of short-term trends because basically that is not sustainable. That is not going to allow you to be more profitable, allow you to have a business that goes the distance. So here is an exercise that I have, and it says, my brand exists to blank, for blank, by blank. My brand exists to make accessible hydration vest for bigger bodied people, and honestly, by a bigger bodied person. I always say, Vestapack, designed by and for, because I want people to understand, like, I made this product not because I was just making a product. I was making a product because I needed a product too. I'm my own customer. You know what I mean? And then when you kind of fill those blanks out and understand those blanks, this is what you get to say to the world over and over and over again. And it's going to really be invaluable to people understand what it is you're really building. In closing, I'm going to say this. What's the one thing, I want to challenge you, what's one thing you've compromised on that doesn't sit right with you? So, for example, I'll be honest, when I first started making my hydration vest, which was in 2020, I wanted to use nothing but recycled materials. At the time, recycled materials were so expensive. It would make the vest I would have to price it at a level that was just like beyond what people really could afford. It wouldn't have been, as they say, price friendly. And I think what was interesting is that people kept saying, well, you're never going to be able to make it. You're never going to be able to make it. And I never gave up on that. That never sat right with me that I couldn't make something out of recycled materials. And so as a result, I hung in there, and by 2022, from 2020 to 2022, everybody was making recycled materials. The price had drastically gone down, and I got to make my vision a reality. And so I say to you, what things are you compromising on that don't sit well with you? Identify it, and then I would say be steadfast and hold true to it, and then trust that the universe is going to provide, or figure out a way to provide. Because I just think that when you compromise and it doesn't sit well with you, you can't bring your full self to your brand and your business because you're like uneasy. It would have just been so hard for me to sell vests that wasn't made out of recycled materials. I don't know if I could have done that. And so that's something to think about when you're thinking about what you're building. You got to build something you could be proud of for the long haul, over the years, over the distance, because that is super important. That's what I mean by beyond the shelf. Like, you want what you're building to have a legacy, right? That people remember, people value, and people trust. All right, so let's move on to the next slide here. Woo, okay, this next one is going to be a little bit challenging. Systems equals sustainability, right? Okay. Look, when you're growing your business, if you're anything like me, I was in my garage and my living room and my kitchen in the beginning, right? And then I moved into a little bitty small office space where I could barely do anything. This office space was smaller than my garage, my living room, my thing, which was ridiculous. And then I moved into a bigger space, and then now I'm in this even bigger space. And one of the things I'm realizing that when you start to scale, you got to think about systems, right? Because what you used to get away with before, you're never going to be able to get away as you start to grow. And so those kind of systems are going to be around your operations. What kind of systems for your operations do you need? You know what I mean? Communication, right? And that's really social media marketing and sales, how you're communicating that. What is that? Also, manufacturing and supply chain. For me, I have standard operating procedures for how to deal with my manufacturing. You know what I mean? I'm now engaging in manufacturing locally, nearshoring with some manufacturers in Canada and Mexico. And then, of course, we do work overseas. And so I have to have systems in place for a couple different reasons. Because if something happens to me, somebody else got to do it. But also, more importantly, so people know what to do when I'm not around, or even my operations person, if they're not around, they still can understand how to do what needs to be done, on a daily basis. And then customer service. I really brought up the ideal systems. There was this, I was at this lecture, and the question is, do you consider your business a mystery or a puzzle? And I don't remember the response, but I do remember, like, if you consider your business a puzzle, means you're going to put the pieces together one at a time. And part of putting the pieces together of your business puzzle is systems. And so I need to probably try to remember that, that lecture a little bit better. So when I talk about this, I know more. The reality situation is that growth in business is not about hiring more people, y'all. Growth in business is clarifying and creating systems that allow you to move and grow. So, because you need those systems for the people that are going to come in. If you don't have a system in place, then the people are not going to know what to do. You're going to hire people, but they're going to be like, what do you want me to do? And you're going to be like, well, just do it. And they're going to be like, well, I don't know what to do. And so you're going to be in this on this hamster wheel of thinking you're growing when in fact you're just kind of losing a lot of money. Because really what is going to make your business grow is the systems that you put in place so that your business can operate day in day and people know exactly what you're doing. I can't really stress this. Like, I feel like all the things I'm going to say to you today, systems is everything. Systems are going to allow you to run your business more efficiently, sustainably, and more profitably. So, I know a lot. I'm not going to lie. I was very resistant to this. I was like, I can handle it myself. No, I can't. And I think having these systems I think what I didn't realize back then when I was holding my business, tight, is that I now can see by having these systems that I feel more, I don't know, I just feel more relief. I'm like, okay, we know exactly what we need to do. We have the system in place. I feel like the stress and anxiety has been significantly lessened because I do have these systems in place. And so I love that these systems, I can see now, like, in hindsight, the company is technically 4 years old, how having these systems really is allowing me the opportunity to grow sustainably, right? To grow comfortably, to continue to, have some profits, allow me to see where I've been and where I'm going, and how that makes me feel more confident about the future. Although I have days when I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. But when I think about the systems that I have in place, I'm like, actually, this thing can run itself, with the people, the team, without me. And when you get to that point with your business, it really is going to be pretty substantial. It's going to be pretty incredible. And you're really going to kind of love what you've been able to manifest. So systems, y'all, make sure you get some systems because they will help you with sustainability. All right, let's go on to our next slide. Let's see. Oh yeah, this is my favorite. It's one of my other favorite slides. Stay soulful, not just successful. I think that, man, I meet a lot of entrepreneurs all the time, and I feel like there's two ways I see entrepreneurs. There are those that are very values-led, and there are those that are very survival-led, and I think that if you can get back to the values of your business, right? Why did I create this? Why do I think this is important for the world? Why I think it's going to have a positive impact? Whose life this is going to transform, as opposed to, oh my God, I got to sell 16 in order to make this profit, in order to do this thing. You know what I mean? It's going to help you, and it's also going to help your brand, but it's also going to help your relationship to your customers, because you're not coming in with this energy of survival. You want to come in with like, look, I do this work because I care about you. I do this work because I noticed that you had this issue, pain point, and I'm here to solve that pain point. But I also think that when you're staying soulful, right, which is really about being values led, is that you know when to pivot, you know when to pause, and you know when to protect your peace. Okay. I think it's so important for entrepreneurs to understand that, like, the world is ever evolving and changing, and part of that change is going to require you sometimes to pivot. And you need to pivot in a way that continues to sustain your soul, right? Because there's nothing like a erratic or unhinged entrepreneur. It's not good business. It's not good for business. Also, I think when I think about staying soulful is knowing when to pause, right? I think we're right now in a really chaotic time. And I have so many plans. I want to do so many things, but a lot of the ways in which I want to make changes and the things I want to do, the mechanisms are unpredictable right now. So I can't, I could do it, but I don't know what the outcome is going to be, which of course is for a lot of things, not just, not just some things. But I think what I've decided to do is just sometimes just pause. Like, it's kind of like doing an ultra marathon. There are times when you're doing an ultra marathon and you've gotten to the 30-second mile and you got 18 more to go, and you're like, I don't think I can do this. I don't know if I can do this anymore. And what I find in those moments is usually what I do is I just sit down for 5 minutes, right? I just pause. I would really invite entrepreneurs to consider that maybe sometimes, in order to be successful, to be more soulful, which is about taking care of you, is to pause and be all right with that. Like, don't trip. It's just like, I'm going to take a minute. And I'm going to tell you something right now. Every time I pause, as God is my witness, every time I pause, I swear to God, I come back even stronger. Even though it's just a short pause. there is something in the space of pause that allows my soul to bring in new information, to consider things from a different perspective, to have a little bit more joy about the business. And I realize that that can't come when I'm constantly on the go. But when I pause and take a moment, I'm like, oh, okay, I get a little clarity. I get a little understanding. Sometimes in the pause, I celebrate, like, girl, you have gotten us this far, and that's a miracle. But the pause could be so amazing for you and your business, but more importantly, for your soul. And as I said before, it's really to protect your peace, right? You, as an entrepreneur, I have to take these earrings off because they keep clinging onto my thing. Being soulful is about protecting your peace, right? At the end of the day, if you're no good, you're no good for the business, and the business is no good. You are more important than the business. However, I do believe there is a way to protect you in that process so that you continue to move on, so you can continue to be profitable, so you can continue to have an impact. My main message with this section is to say, what we have to do is center joy. I really challenge us to center joy, to center our identity, meaning the things that matter to us, that makes us who we are, and to center impact, right? Because that's what's going to allow you to stay soulful and not just successful in your business. Here's a little something I want you to think about. What would it look like to build this business from a place of joy instead of fear? Yeah. What would it look like to build your business from a place of joy instead of fear? Imagine what that would be like. Oh my goodness. And imagine how that is going to be impactful for the world. Okay. Let's move on to the next slide. Next slide. All right. Okay, cool. Positioning that's powerful and personal. This is what we're going to talk about. What makes your brand different? And I think it's important for us not to just be talking about features, but talking about the transformation. I was on Thursday when I did Nailing Your Niche. I was talking about how I think a lot of times we go after these single customer avatars, and I contend that there's no such thing as the right single customer avatar. That what I was challenging people in that mini masterclass is to think about your customer avatar as mini avatars, right? But you know what they say, you can't go after everyone. If you go after everyone, you get none. And I believe that to be true. But what I was trying to suggest is that perhaps what we need to do is find that middle ground. And the way I was explaining it is that you create a constellation of avatars, right? Yeah, there are different people in the world, right, that are going to be attracted to you and be users of your product. And yes, they're different. However, there are going to be certain things about each of these avatars that overlaps, right? There's going to be something about all of them that connects at some point, and that's what you speak to, right? And I contend that what you're speaking to is their transformation. What kind of transformation does your constellation of avatars, what do they want? You know what I mean? When it comes to hydration, people just want comfort, ease, quality, you know what I mean? Convenience, access, they all pretty much, the words are different, but the meaning is pretty much the same, and it's centered around this whole concept of being to hydrate with ease. Whether I'm just gardening, or whether I'm just walking my dog, or whether I'm running 100 miles, or whether I'm just doing a workout inside of a gym, I just want to hydrate. And so it's not about me talking about the features of the vest, right? Oh my God, you have the spacious pockets, and you have the back pocket, and the big pocket, and the spongy cords, and the trekking pole holders. No, it's not talking about all that. It's talking about this thing fits comfortably. It doesn't move around. It's ultra light. You barely feel it. I don't have to say ultra light. I can say when you put it on, you barely feel it, and people are like, oh my God. Then they know, oh my God, this is so light. There are so many ways in which we could talk about the transformation that's going to be far more powerful and is far more connecting to human beings. Look, human beings want to feel like whatever it is you're doing as a business is going to help make their lives better, right? You are solving a pain point. So that's why when you position yourself, that's how you position yourself as powerful, yet personal, right? It's powerful in what it is you're capable of doing. It's personal because you understand from human to human what that impact and transform means. But more than that, when you connect on that level, that becomes your brand story, right? And that's a brand story that builds trust. And people just, they say like, know, trust. You want people to like, know, and trust you. And that's why they buy your products. I have this activity here, or this just statement here. It's like, once upon a time, what problem existed? What did you create? Who is it for? And why now? So really, this is about you thinking about, how do I position myself as powerful and personal? Once upon a time, there was the issue, for me, it's like once upon a time, none of the outdoor industry stores sold a hydration vest that fit people beyond 2X. So I end up creating a hydration vest for bigger bodies. It is for me, I realize my product is for people who value hydration, understand that hydration is important, and want to wear something that can make hydration easier for them. And why now? I think because more than ever, people are in the outdoors. People are really mindful about being physically active. And I just want to make the hydration around them being physically active and moving super easy and super comfortable. So, that's my kind of campfire pitch, Used to be, didn't have it, and now we have it, and now people are able to do the things that they want to do and also stay hydrated. All right, let's move on to the next slide, because I think I've gone as far as I can go with that. Okay, here we go. All right, so this is one of my favorite parts of this presentation, and I probably said that about a couple other things, but I love reverse engineering. I do. I love reverse engineering because I think it puts things in perspective. Okay, so first, I'm going to use me as a example. Start with the end in mind. So I want to be a global brand, right? And if I want to be a global brand, what does that mean? That means that my product is going to be sold, and it's not only going to be sold direct to consumer globally, but also be sold from global other retailers across the globe. Well, when I looked at that is thousands. I think it was a little over oh my God. I think it was 6,000 or 7,000 retailers globally. And so that's a lot of retailers. So I said to myself, well, let's reverse engineering. Let's say you're in, all these different retailers across the globe. What did it look like before you got into all those retailers across the globe? Well, I said, okay, so maybe before then, I was only in some countries. So maybe I was in Europe, Australia, Canada, Mexico, and America. Maybe that was the step before then. You know what I mean? And then I said, okay, let's imagine you in those countries, right? Those half a dozen countries. What would be the step before that? Well, that step probably before that would be maybe that I only sold my product in North America. And so that was Canada, Mexico, and US, right? And then what would be that step before that, right? Reverse engineering, right? Oh, maybe I'm only in the US. Now, what's really interesting about me is that I understood that my next step would probably be to branch out to Canada and Mexico. However, I already have international sales from all over the world. So what I thought was my reverse engineering was a little off for what I probably should need to do. Like, we're already getting orders from Europe and Australia. And so my next step probably is to maybe do Canada and Mexico, but then probably quickly thereafter go into markets like Australia and Europe. And so when you're thinking about growing, I would reverse engineer, understanding that you're going to technically reverse engineer in your mind, right? You're just trying to imagine, but understanding that that's going to change because you're going to discover some things in your process that you didn't know. So another thing I want to say in terms of reverse engineering and scale is that, let's say you want to be VC backed. Okay, I want to have investors and they help my business grow. Well, think about reverse engineering that. Maybe at this point you're completely vested. What would it look like before then? Maybe you only have 3 investors. And maybe the step backwards would be only 1 investor. And maybe the step even beyond that is no one is invested in your company. And then thinking about what it might look like at each of these different steps. How much of your equity are you losing, or sharing, not losing, with someone else? What is your business going to look like with these investments? And then also considering that maybe, I think one of the things I love about reverse engineering around particularly equity investors is maybe you will discover you don't want to be VC backed. You know what I mean? Maybe that's just something you don't want. Because when you really think about it and then you think about reverse engineering, maybe you say to yourself, oh, I don't know if I really want to go along this path and this journey. It doesn't feel right for me. And I'm not confident that I'm going to be able to bring in the kind of investors that could be aligned with my mission and vision, right? The other thing I want us to consider too in reverse engineering, I talked about, selling globally and being in all these stores. Well, maybe when I'm thinking about expanding into all these markets that I discover, I don't want to do that. I just want to go direct to consumer. You know what I mean? Because I'm going to tell you something right now. I did yesterday's workshop where I talked about keeping it real about landing in REI. I talk about how, look, be careful what you ask for. Everybody wants to get an REI. Everybody's like, oh, you got an REI. I want to get an REI. Be careful what you ask for. People want to get in Target and Walmart, Costco, Macy's, whatever the case may be. And I tell people, these are getting into this wholesale relationship is a lot of work, which is why I talked about before. You got to have systems in place, because if you don't, you could really mess up your relationship with a retailer. And once you mess it up, it's going to be hard for you to kind of recover. And it's not so much that they won't, allow you to come back or they won't want to engage with you. They'll just be skeptical about you, and it will shift and change. So you want to make sure what you want to do is what you want to do, and that is your path. Don't let people try to tell you, oh, I love when people always try to always love when people want stuff for me. You know what I mean? And I love it. They're like, oh, Charlotte, you should be in Dick's Sporting Goods. And I'm like, I maybe should be in Dick's Sporting Goods. But the thought of getting Dick's Sporting Goods means that's just more work for me. And is that on my path? Is that part of my path? Is that what I really want to do? Perhaps. But that's something I have to figure out and contend with over time. So when you're thinking about growing, I just really encourage you guys to reverse engineer it, right? Look at the bigger picture. And when you think about the bigger picture, y'all, you got to think about all the things that it would require. Let's say I was global in all 6,000 outdoor sporting goods stores. They're not called outdoor. I was in 6,000 sporting goods stores. Think about that. First of all, that's 6,000 stores. Every store has got to have my product in all the different sizes, right? That's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot. Probably not just even in the stores, online, in their distribution warehouses. That's a lot. How do I get all this stuff to all these 6,000 people? When the thought of it is I can't even imagine. It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. And I get that. I don't want that to be a discouragement, but I want you to be mindful about then what do I need to do to get there? I got to reverse engineer it. So I make sure that I have everything in place to be able to successfully execute on that global in all sporting goods stores across the world. Because again, it's not about growth. It's about sustainability. It's about being profitable. And it's about being able to go the distance, right? Because you don't want to all of a sudden be in all 6,000 stores and then you're fold, which can happen, but the plan is that won't happen. So I say to you guys, for the sake of this conversation today, what does scaling smart look like in 6 months, in a year. So think about where do you want to be in a year and reverse engineer that, right? Or think about where you want to be in 6 months and reverse engineer that. Like for me, I'm looking at these two things. In 6 months would be Christmas time. How do I reverse engineer having a spectacular holiday sales season? How do I do that? What do I need to have in place? What product do I have? What kind of marketing do I need? What kind of team do I need? Blah, 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 blah. All that. Like, what do I need in order for that to execute on that and for that to manifest and happen? And how do I do it in a way that is smart, right? And that allows me to continue to make my business, sets my business up for continued success. So, yeah, I mean, look, I worked in engineering for over 15 years. I love the idea of engineering and reverse engineering because I do think it's the key to being successful. And I know a lot of people don't like the word engineering, but engineering is what it is, but it has some really important strategic ways of thinking about things that can really be helpful for you as an entrepreneur and your business. Okay, let's go here. Let's go to the next one. All right. Community is currency. Look, y'all, I don't know how many times I can say this. No, I'm kidding. I've only said it one time. Okay, this is what I want to say. The most powerful form of growth is word of mouth. Okay? Yes. When people think about it, it's one thing for you to read a testimonial or hear a testimonial, but there's nothing like you being in person with somebody and they're like, oh my God, girl, you should get this. I love this. There is a deeper connection. There is something about it that because you know that person and you trust that person, you're like, okay, this person is on to something and you trust it. Now, I'm going to say this about business. You can't live on word of mouth alone. People would like to suggest that can happen. I just think in our day and times, particularly around all the noise, all the digital noise, I think it's harder to sustain and or grow with just word of mouth. But it does have currency. And it can be really impactful and really important. So don't rule it out, but just understand its play in relationship to everything else that's going on in your business. Also, what's important is to learn from people. Like, as soon as people buy your stuff, get feedback from them. You know what I mean? Like, did you like it? Did you not like it? Did this happen? Da-da-da. And then ask them for testimonials, right? Would you be willing to share what your experience was? But then also, one of the things that I love is right now is like I'm doing some beta testing with different customer segments or potential customer segments. And what I've explained to them is, I want you to test out the best, but I also want you to help me co-create what would be the ideal vest for you as a different kind of consumer that normally isn't targeted for a hydration vest. And I'm super excited about that. I think it's going to be a really good experience. It's also going to humble me because I think I know everything. And more importantly, I think it's just going to really allow me to create something that's going to be far more expansive. That's going to be, it's just going to resonate with more people because it was co-created by everyday people. And I'm an everyday person. And then more importantly, it's going to help me build a movement and not just a customer base. When people are invested in the process, when they contribute to the process, when they see what they contributed allowed something to get better and grow and reach more people, they feel pride. And that pride is ever expansive, ever far reaching is what I wanted to say. So when it comes to community as currency, so like for instance, I'm doing this base camp. This is my way of saying I want to start curating more community. I want us to talk about entrepreneurship. I don't want to talk about the vest. The vest is what it is, but how do we as outdoor industry entrepreneurs begin to engage with one another? How do we talk about this work that we do? How do we help each other through these challenges? Because right now it's really turbulent and a lot of things are unpredictable and unknowing. But I contend that, we can get through it. And it's different being in a world as an entrepreneur, like with the world, all the changes, geopolitical changes. It's different being in the world when you're an entrepreneur with all these geopolitical changes than being an employee. it's just a different dynamic, and it's interesting. But more importantly, at the end of the day, I want you to say, how can I invite my customers and my community to do this work with me, and really create some moments. I think, just reading this, even though I know I wrote it, it's challenging me in this moment to think about, well, how can I do more to invite my community to do this work with me? I think it can be pretty impactful if I really seriously figure that out. So, yeah, all right. And then the next thing is strategic visibility. Okay, I'm going to say this. The first thing I want you to do is, when you think about strategic visibility, what are like 3 dream partnerships or media placements you would want? Now, I want you to think about those partnerships or media placements. And then I want you to also think at the same time, what value do I bring? What value do you bring to them? I was right here. I was like, what value do I bring? So let me say my dream partnership. So for example, REI. My dream partnership was REI. What did I bring to them? I just brought to them a product where there was a true gap in the market. And this is interesting about this. I think that I'm going to be all completely transparent. I believe that having my product at REI is kind of like a cosign to the outdoor industry, that I'm serious about what I do, that I'm good at what I do, and that I'm doing something important. Like, I could do it, and maybe the world would say I'm doing something good, but there is something about my product being REI that I get an extra. It's almost like I get entree into rooms that I would never have gotten into, had I not been in REI. I think there are people that take me more seriously because I am in REI. And I think there are people that come to me and I'm afforded opportunities because I'm in REI. How do I feel about that? Sometimes I'm a little suspect of that, because I just feel like, why can't somebody do something good and the world see it? But at the same time, I know the world that we live in, and part of that world we live in is collaboration and networking and all that. So I feel like I do bring value to them as a woman of color who is making a product for bodies that are highly ignored. And so that's the value that I bring. But I want to say, when we're thinking about strategic visibility, we want to make sure we align ourselves with purpose, align this visibility with purpose, right? So press. I'm pretty much open to any press, as long as it feels like it's in alignment with my business, or I feel like they're going to ask me good questions. I don't want people asking me stuff that doesn't make any sense or is not important. So that they care about size inclusion, that they care about women of color, they care about movement, body positivity, like those kind of things. Like, I'm not going to really do a lot of press with people that I'm like, I don't know you and I don't know what you're really about and I don't think you're in line with me. But I make sure that it aligns with my mission, my values, and my goals. And then partnerships. I think for me, it's been really hard about thinking about partnerships, because I want somebody who really understands, like to the bone, what it is I'm trying to do. And I just think that we live in a very anti-fat phobic world, and anti-fat phobic world, in that we are still working on, as a culture and a community, as a human species, about feeling good about our bodies no matter what size they are. And so until really, I think that's going to be, I want to say a couple of things. First of all, I think that it makes it harder for me to do the work that I do, because I'm constantly always having to try and to read people, right? Are they greenlighting me or are they serious? You know what I mean? And I get it. I get the world that we live in. I'm not suggesting, that it's impossible, but it takes a lot more work. And I think more importantly too, it's like, I believe in this work. And as much as people would like me to stop doing this work, I'm going to continue to do it. And I just believe the day will come when we as human beings will stop making assumptions about people based on the size of their bodies. And I want to be a part of that. You know, we were talking earlier about legacy. Like, I want them to say, what was she known for? She was known for hydrating all bodies because she cared about all bodies, right? That's what I want my legacy to be. And in doing that, I always have to be talking about that strategically when I'm getting more visibility as a company. I think that a lot of people always recommend that I get influencers, and I have yet to do that. I've started to have preliminary conversations with a lot of different people, but I'm here to say that I'm not chasing clout. I'm not doing it. I'm not chasing any clout. I'm chasing alignment. If you're truly aligned, then let's do this. And a lot of times I think you would think that the people that would be in alignment, this is tricky business, are, you know, I think they're in alignment, but they're also in alignment with the culture. They're in alignment with, you know, what the public opinion is. And when you're just a small brand trying to connect with major influencers, you know, they're not necessarily interested in you because, you know, you're not a global brand. When in fact, actually, Conscious Gear is a global brand. But it's been interesting, this journey, and just really thinking about visibility and being strategic about it. And I don't want, like I said, I don't want to chase no clout. That's not my game. And it's not my heart and my soul. And I trust what I'm doing. I know I'm doing good work. I don't care what anybody say. I know I'm doing the good work that needs to be done. And I refuse to lower my standards. I refuse to sidestep, you know, what's important to me in terms of my values and my morals. And I refuse to feel like I have to sell myself short in order to engage with partnerships or to get media. I just trust the process, y'all. I really do. And I always, I have to say to myself every morning, like, be open to the possibilities. Because sometimes I can get a little bit in my head about it. But I want consistency in what it is I'm saying to the world. And whoever is in line with that or supports that, I'm appreciative of, and I'm definitely willing to collaborate and share. So yeah, I think this is something that maybe I will do a whole workshop on. And also I would be interested in talking to other people about how they think about strategic visibility, because I just think we live in this world where, you know, Gary Vaynerchuk talks about this. He says we're in the attention economy. So it's all about how do you get people's attention, right? So much noise. But how do you do it in a way that's strategic? And how do you do it in a way that allows you to stay in alignment with who and what you are, right? How do you do it without, you know, having to shortchange everything you're about? And so I think this is important stuff. And so I definitely want to more talk about it. All right, so here we go. Let me do I think this might be my last slide. And it's called The Real Talk on Burnout and Boundaries. Look, as entrepreneurs, when you're thinking about now that your stuff is on the shelf, that's when the work really begins. I know, remember the beginning days, you thought, oh my God, this is so much work. No, nothing in comparison to when you're actually starting to be successful. Because at every level comes more responsibilities and more things to contend with. And really, I realized this the other day that the more success that you get, the more risk there are. There's more to lose, right? And that can be pretty compelling, because when you're at the beginning, you're in the startup phase, and you know you have a lot going on. You know, if you lost it all, it would be no big deal. But when you get to a certain point and there's a possibility you could lose it all, that's a different kind of moment, and it can be a moment. So one of the things I want to say about real talk burnout is like, look, remember that you're not a robot. And I feel like entrepreneurship in many respects requires us to be robots. Let's not get it twisted. Yes, We have to be robots and we have to do everything. Not only do we have to be robots, y'all, nowadays we have to be AI robots, okay? We gotta know everything, be able to figure it out, blah, blah, blah. And so just remember that you're human, you know what I mean? I've been, over the last couple of years, I've talked to a lot of entrepreneurs who are experiencing burnout, and it just really disheartens me. I'm like, I don't wish that for them. I wish there was a way for us to do this work where that doesn't happen. And so I have some ideas about that. One of the things I think we all should do as entrepreneurs is build rest into your business model. And remember before I talked about pausing. In the ultramarathon, there are moments when you think you can't go on, but you pause. And I think that's what entrepreneurs need to do. As you're building your business, just pause sometimes. Take a week off. Take a month off. Trust and believe. Hunty, when you come back, the world's going to still be the same that it was before you left. You think the world's going to stop because you left? Nah. You know what I mean? And even though the world hasn't stopped, don't mean that you can't dip back in again. I mean, it's just the nature of how things go. But how to really prioritize rest into your business model. And rest can be the form of hiring people to do things for you. Rest can be creating systems that I talked about earlier. Rest could be real rest, like just stepping away, taking digital breaks when you're not online or doing anything online. I'm not a highly digital person, so I don't need necessarily digital rest. If anything, I need to probably do more digital. But because I'm so I don't even get online at all. And I can go weeks without getting online, so that's not my issue. But I know a lot of people that are heavily connected to digital, and they know they do that on a regular basis. And sometimes that can bring about a lot of anxiety and stress. And so really figuring out how to take a break from that sometimes. And sometimes rest means having fun, okay? Doing something that you love. I think one of the things that I'm really realizing, I created this outdoor brand because I want to be in the outdoors, but I haven't been able to do any fun outdoor things lately. And I'm like, I'm not going to be any good to this business if I don't figure out how to do more positive outdoor things for me. And so I love that, when I'm thinking about burnout and boundaries, setting boundaries for myself, you know what I mean? Only working X amount of hours. I go to work at a certain time and then I leave at a certain time. And I love right now, I have a summer intern, and I'm like, my hours are the same as the summer interns. And I love that because the summer intern has certain hours. I work those same certain hours, and then I don't have to work it. I love that boundary that I've set for myself, because otherwise I just used to spend the whole day doing work, and it just feels better now that I built in a schedule that allows me to rest so that I can give the best of me to my business. There's this phrase I have: what you don't do is just as powerful as what you do. So remember, rest is just as important as grind. They both play a role in your business success, so don't get it twisted. Always set boundaries around your time about what you will do. Be strategic about your growth. Remember, pause is powerful. Pause is for you. Pause is for the business. Pause is for the expansion of things. I'm here to tell you that pause, there is so much infinite possibility in a pause. But a lot of times we can't even manifest the infinite possibilities because we won't pause. We keep grudging along, and Spirit's like, can you just slow down a minute so I can give you the next steps you need to be taking? Yeah, just know, you just burnout doesn't have to be a part of your reality. And if it is part of your reality now, you need to figure out, what boundaries am I going to start taking? And I think if you're burnt out, by and large, I would say just pause, right? Stop. I would say even just stop. I mean, really just stop. And just think about, what are the bare minimal things that need to be done for my business? See if you can get somebody else to do it. And then you just go to a beach or a mountain top or a swimming pool. I don't care where you go. Those are the places I would go, of course. And just don't do nothing. If you're burnt out, don't do nothing right now. Just, if it's for a day, if it's for a week, because I do believe there is answers for you in those spaces, but your mind won't let you catch it, right? It's like energy. If you're like constantly spewing out energy, how can you allow new, fresh energy come in? You got to pause. You got to stop so that the Holy Spirit can bring in that new energy and give you that new awakening and that information that you need to take you to the next level. But at the end of the day, I want to say this. What boundaries do you need to protect? What boundaries do you need to set to protect your energy for Q3, right? Q4. And then implement that and make sure you do that. And if you're not doing it, really get seriously about spending a Sunday just saying, what boundaries am I going to set? Am I going to turn my phone off at 10 o'clock? I have do not disturb on my phone, even though I don't even do a lot of internet stuff. But even though I don't do a lot of social media stuff, I have do not disturb on my phone. So it says, nope, you can't do nothing. But I wasn't going to do nothing anyways. But for me, it's more about not only not being on there for social media, but just not being distracted by people trying to reach out to me and all that kind of stuff. Set boundaries about making sure you get enough sleep. And quiet as it's kept, please set boundaries around hydration, okay? Quiet as it's kept, hydration is the ultimate healer. It really is. We think food and medicine and all this other stuff, but I'm here to tell you that hydration, water, is a powerful healer in your life. It can bring you clarity. It can make your body run better. It can make your mind run better. It can make your spirit run better. So that definitely is my 30-second sermon about hydration. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for my mini masterclass. Remember that I am a BMO fellow, and as a result of being a BMO fellow, one of the assignments from my fellowship is to do a base camp, which is an event, and this is the event that I'm doing. I've been doing them. I did one on Thursday, one on yesterday, and one on today. And so if you enjoyed yourself, if you learned anything, I would love it if you would fill out this survey. Give me some feedback. It's for BMO. It will go to them directly, and then they'll send me you can do it anonymous, and they can kind of tell me like a little bit of feedback about how my event went, and then that will allow me to know what I want to do in the future. I'm super excited about doing this. I'm super excited about doing this more. I think what I'm going to do is to do more bite-size presentations, and so I can also figure out ways to engage more conversation, because I would love to hear from you guys as well. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you supporting me. It has been amazing. Feel free to watch this video on YouTube. I will put all of the Designing the Outdoor mini master classes on YouTube. I think this will go on Instagram as well. But thank you guys so much for supporting me, supporting the brand. I'm excited about continuing these conversations about how I believe that the outdoor needs more of us. You know what I mean? And I want to be a part of helping us do this work, and to share with you some of my journey and my tips, my tricks, my strategies, as well as learn from you as well. And that together, I think we can really do amazing things. That once we get our stuff on the shelves, that we build a brand that goes the distance, right? We want to wake up 20 years from now and realize, wow, my company is 20 years old. That's what's up. That's what I want. I want us to scale smart, stay true, and wake up saying, wow, I did that. I did that. And feel proud, feel accomplished, feel like you did it without breaking yourself. You know what I mean? Because I believe that we can do that. We don't have to be broken at the end of our entrepreneurial journees or in the midst of our entrepreneurial journeys. So again, thank you guys so much. Like I said, I will see you guys in I'll continue to do these lives, and like next time I'll probably just break it down into something a little shorter, and then also engage more community and conversations. Today I was alone. My helper was unable to come, and so it's just been enough just for me to just talk about this stuff. So again, thank you. I love you. Have a wonderful Saturday. Enjoy yourself. Take good care of yourself. Make sure you stay hydrated. And as always, I'll see you in the outdoors. Peace and love, fam. Thank you. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.